Good evening, Kavibal, and welcome to our Learn at Home Learning Series. For today's discussion, our topic is maximizing the potential of flip learning through parents' engagement. Let me have some few reminders. Make sure you are registered to the webinar to have your e-certificate of participation. Visit certificate.vibalgroup.com to generate your proof of attendance. Place your questions on the comment box allotted and they will be addressed by our speaker later on. Share the video using hashtag LearnAs1PH as our official hashtag to our Vibal webinars. Experience learning, ka-Vibal. And now, to proceed with our session this evening, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished speaker. Our speaker is a graduate of Bachelor in Secondary Education, major in English at the Philippine Normal University in 2011. He obtained his Master of Arts, major in Communication degree at the Ateneo de Manila University. He has been a teacher for almost a decade and has already taught English, literature, public speaking, and research classes. He also represented the Philippines in various international research conferences about education and communication. He has been delivering CPD training sessions and teacher seminars across the country for more than 3 years. He is also into journalism as he has already experienced handling a number of student publications in various schools and universities, including San Beda University and the University of Santo Tomas. At present, he is working as a faculty member at the University of Santo Tomas Junior High School, where he teaches communication arts and journalism courses. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our speaker for tonight, Mr. Joram Kim B. Corquera, MA.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Of course, thank you, Miss Kia, for that introduction. So, on that note, po, allow me to share with you, of course, the PowerPoint presentation that I prepared for our webinar tonight. Okay. All right. So here. So the use of technology in the field of education has truly spread like a wildfire. No wonder educators, of course, have already tried applying it for various purposes. And it has been a common practice for us teachers, educators to integrate it with our lessons because of the many benefits that it offers, especially, of course, in meeting the educational demands of the Generation Z. One of the teaching strategies that is commonly used, of course, to maximize the potential of technology is what we call flip learning. So this pedagogy undoubtedly can be improved with parents' involvement and engagement. My dear viewers, my dear teachers, my dear parents, my dear students, this is going to be our focus today. How we can be able to maximize its use in educating the learners nowadays through an excellent and superb homeschool connection, an excellent and superb homeschool connection. So to those who are watching us right now, again, good evening. I am Mr. Jordan Kim Corquera, graduate of Philippine Normal University and of the Ateneo de Manila University. Right now, just like what Ms. Kia made mention earlier, I am a faculty member of the University of Santo Tomas Junior High School. So welcome to our Learn at Home Facebook Live session today entitled Maximizing the Potential of Flip Learning Toolkit for Elementary Education Through Parent Engagement. So just like how I started my other webinars in the previous weeks, the previous months, I always, of course, started with what I call the quote of the day. So here, gusto ko nga tawagin sana ng quote of the hour kasi I was given an hour of course to speak about the topic. Kaya lang sabi ko kanina, I'm afraid na baka mag-extend tayo ng konti. So instead of using the quote of the hour, I decided to just stick with, of course, the quote of the day. So our quote of the day comes from Walter Lippmann. Sabi niya, when all think alike, then no one is thinking. Indeed, my dear parents, my dear educators who are watching us right now, my dear formators, ito ang ating motto today, di ba? Dapat tayo, may kanya-kanya tayong iba't ibang naiisip. Especially, of course, in maximizing the potential of our kids, of our students, of our children. Then how would we be able to do this one? Very simple. Ito pong slide na to, itong picture na to, this is the same picture that I always use in all the webinars that I actually, kumbaga, deliver for Bibal as long as it's connected to 21st century education. Hindi ko talaga tinatanggal tong picture na to. You know why? Because for me, this picture, just like what I did during my previous webinar, sabi ko, this picture summarizes 21st century education. So in your screen, of course, you would be seeing machines, 3 gears, di ba? The red gear, creativity, the yellow gear, innovation, and the blue one, of course, academic success. So of course, 21st century education is just like this. Ang gears kasi, kapag isa dyan hindi gumana, hindi po gagalaw lahat yan. It's the same thing, of course, with machines. So same thing po sa ginagawa natin ngayon. If we teachers won't be creative, if the parents also won't be innovative, okay, in handling their kids and handling the children, then we cannot expect, of course, that our students would be able to gain academic success. So if you want our students, our kids, our children to gain academic success, then there's only one way. That is for us, of course, to be able to use creative strategies, innovative methods, of course, in teaching them, informing them. Okay, not only, of course, their academic skills, but also, of course, their character. Now, why is there a need for creativity and innovation in education? Of course, for generations, education has been the springboard to opportunity. Times have changed and we need, of course, to change with them. Di ba sabi ko nga po, pag sinabi nating 21st century education, we're not, of course, applying the use of technology just because of the COVID-19 pandemic. No. Because even before the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, started, talaga itong paggamit ng technology, it has truly spread like a wildfire already. So of course, why? Because of one, the biggest change. Nag-iba po ang learners natin today, di ba? Tayo before, we can withstand listening to our teachers' lectures for like 2 hours, 3 hours or so. Ngayon, estudyante natin, mag-lecture ka lang ng 15 minutes, bored na yan. Well, nalulusan nila yung attention nila. So, of course, the changes in our learners. Second, of course, the changes in the curriculum. Before, it's knowledge-based. Nowadays, of course, it's skills-based, diba? Third, the changes, of course, in the grading system. Before, mahalaga sa atin yung mga memorization, mga periodical tests, matandaan lang natin. But now, it's not really focused on the knowledge, diba? We're after measuring the skills. That's why we're allotting bigger percentages for performance tasks, okay? Second, we need, of course, to be creative because according to education researchers and psychologists, they took the social, emotional, cognitive, and professional benefits of possessing creative abilities. So to sum it up, when students are creative and are innovative, then it's easier to conclude that they are a notch above the rest. And definitely, this is something that we want them to achieve. We want them always to be better than the others. We want them always to stand out, di ba? Because of course, right now, lahat naman tayo nakakapag-aral, maraming nakakapag-aral. But of course, for our kids, for our students to be the best versions of themselves, di ba? Kailangan, siyempre, ang goal natin is hindi lang sila maging successful, kundi maging isa sa pinaka-successful. And of course, we can do this with the, of course, skills of being creative and innovative. Okay? So in your screen, you will see an image summarizing, diba, how we will be able to apply creativity and innovation in the field of education in our country. So the books are representing traditional learning, right? So the laptops are representing, of course, online learning. And in the upcoming academic year, we will be able to see the combination of both worlds, diba? Some teachers, some schools, some students would be maximizing the use of traditional learning. Printed books sila. How? Through printed modules, right? Lalo na yung mga wala talagang access to the internet. But some, of course, majority, I guess, would be capitalizing the use and the benefits, of course, of technology using online learning. And of course, these two methods would lead us to an effective implementation of what we call 21st century education. Kaya nga sabi ko, if we're talking about the next academic year, it would not be traditional learning. And it would not also be on modern learning lang, di ba? Kumbaga, combination talaga siya, right? So we're going to mix up, of course, the best practices from the traditional way of teaching the students, from the modern way of teaching the students, and of course, hoping that we would be able to give them the best 21st century education that they truly deserve. But allow me, of course, to ask you some questions before we really start, kumbaga, with the chunk of our presentation, okay? So during the quarantine, kanina 'di ba nag-release ng panibagong quarantine protocols na parang August 1 to 15 good for the next 15 days. So my question is, during the quarantine, what did you learn and what skills were you able to develop? Di ba po? So some of us would say, ay ako, during the quarantine, I learned how to bake cookies, pastries, cakes, brownies. So gumaling tayo sa baking. Di ba? Some teachers would say, ay ako, I use the moment. Di ba? Yung green thumb ko, minaximize ko. I tried to plant chili seeds, carrots, tomatoes, bell peppers, etc. Di ba? So gardening. Di ba po? Iba sa atin, nag-master ng skill ng gardening. Gumawa tayo ng sarili nating home garden, di ba? Some of us, especially those who are really musically inclined, di ba? We tried to practice our skills in terms of playing the guitar, di ba? We tried to learn the strumming techniques, playing the simple songs, like for example, yung turete. Ako, when I tried guitar, when I had guitar lessons before, sabi sa akin nung nagtuturo sa akin, yung turete daw isa sa madaling tugtugin kasi dalawa lang daw yung nota. So maybe some of us, teachers, parents, students, formators, educators, tried, of course, playing the guitar, mastering the skills of playing the guitar, piano, and other musical instruments. Some of us, di ba, sinamantala natin ang pagkakataon para hindi na tayo lalabas at dili na tayo makalabas lalo. Nag-skill tayo, of course, in sewing, di ba? So tayo na gumawa ng, kumbaga, kobre kama, ng una, ng kumot, and then the like. Some of us, yung talagang medyo into technology, we tried our best, of course, to master the dance steps of Renegade, Savage Love, di ba? So, trinay natin maging TikTok master. Di ba? But of course, since today, this webinar is sponsored by Vival. Definitely, through Vival, a lot of teachers learned a lot with regards to, of course, being a better teacher. Di ba? Vival, of course, through the webinars, of course, you learn how to observe good classroom management. You learn new teaching pedagogies, teaching strategies. You were informed about the changes in the field of education, what 21st century education is, and many more. Diba? So in other words, during the quarantine, we learned a lot of things. Hindi tayo huminto sa pagkatuto. But the question is, who taught you these things? And who served as your teacher during the quarantine? Paano tayo natuto mag-bake? Paano tayo natuto gumaling sa gardening? Paano tayo magtuto for example dun sa playing the guitar or whatsoever? Okay? So we learn these things, or most of us learn these things by trying to acquire the knowledge and develop the skills from the internet, right? Specifically from social media. Through the internet, of course, through the use of various social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, di ba? Ngayon, Facebook ito, of course, we, kumbaga, encountered a number of videos, di ba? So, for example, YouTube videos containing like Vival webinars, diba? Baking videos, for example, vlogs of gardeners, kung paano yung mga techniques, diba? Yung mga hacks silang tinatawag. So, of course, hindi lang through videos, through the internet, we also encountered instructional templates, di ba? Websites, di ba? Posted in websites, for example, may mga blog, sewing articles, parang for example, listicle articles containing the do's and the don'ts in teaching, published researches, and then the like. So in other words, lahat to natutunan natin through the use of internet. It can be either, of course, through the use of videos or through the use of different information posted in various websites. And whenever we use these materials, okay, especially yung mga pre-recorded videos, this technique is what we call flipped classroom. So pag nakita po natin flip classroom, ayan, in your screen, may kita nyo binaliktad, literal na binaliktad, di ba? Here, in flip classroom, we literally flip the things that should be done at home and in school. Right now, of course, sabihin nyo, hindi na papasok yung mga bata sa in school. Secretary Briones made an announcement, if I'm not mistaken, earlier. Sabi niya, na-reach na namin yung certain number of enrollees na target talaga ng DepEd. And reiterated the point na hindi pa blended learning hanggat walang vaccine. So umpisa, it would be pure modular or pure online learning. Both of which, of course, are modes of distance learning. So gawan natin ng ibang pangalan, di ba? So things that should be done at home, ito mga tinatawag natin dati na assignments, di ba? So ngayon, ito yung tinatawag nating asynchronous activities. So these activities are the ones given by the teacher that the students can do in their most convenient time. And of course, the things that are being done in school, ito naman tawagin nating synchronous learning. So synchronous, why? Because these are the things that the students do at the same time with their classmates and of course guided by their teacher. So, but before we talk about, of course, the synchronous, asynchronous activities, let us try to define first, what is flipped learning? What is flipped classroom? Okay? So, flipped classroom is a pedagogical model in which the typical lecture and homework elements of a course are reversed. Just like what I was telling you earlier, babalik na rin natin. Si lecture, di ba kadalasan yun ang ginagawa sa loob ng klase. Si homework, kadalasan yun ang ginagawa sa bahay. So babalik na rin natin. Yung lecture would be done at home. So it would be done asynchronously through pre-recorded lectures. And the homeworks, of course, the assessment would be done all at the same time. Okay? So yun na yung synchronous activity na gagawin. So that's how we're going to do it, flip classroom. Second, it is a strategy wherein short video lectures are viewed by students at home before the class session, while in class time is devoted to exercises, projects, or discussion. We have to be reminded that one of the limitations that we have, of course, in online learning, in virtual learning, is that yung time, di ba? In an online class, teachers only enjoy limited minutes compared to a face-to-face instruction, di ba? Sa face-to-face, minsan kulang pa yung oras natin. Paano pa sa online? We cannot demand our students to be online, for example, from 7 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. Di ba? Hindi pwede yun. Kasi yung mata nila, di ba? So, of course, limited yung time. So, since limited yung time, gusto natin, kapag nagklase, alam na ng mga bata, malalim na yung discussion. And this can be done, of course, through flipped classroom. Third, value of a flipped class is in the repurposing of class time into a workshop where students can inquire about lecture content, test their skills in applying their knowledge, and interact with one another in hands-on activities. So in other words, since the students, for example, will be watching specific videos, pre-recorded videos, diba, done by the teachers, or maybe, for example, forwarded by various educators around the world, kasi pwede naman tayo mag-sharing, diba, as long as same yung content, diba? So, since bago pumasok ang mga bata, meron na silang pagkakaintindi, then during class time, during the synchronous lessons, the students, of course, would be able to participate actively in various activities. Kumbaga, mas malalim din yung pagkakaintindi, mas deepen ang understanding ng mga bata. Those are some of the benefits, of course, of flipped classroom. Okay? So in a flipped classroom, of course, instructors function as coaches and as advisors, encouraging students in individual inquiry and collaborative effort during class sessions. Of course, after watching the videos, we cannot expect that all students will have the same level of understanding. It should be noted that learners are diverse. We have fast learners, we have average learners, we have slow learners. So since learners are diverse, then therefore, of course, dapat matuto silang magtanong. Let's say, for example, they are slow learners. So if they are having a hard time, for example, trying to understand the video, and they already tried to maximize the use of technology, nag-research na sila, nanood na sila ng iba pang videos, hindi pa rin nila naintindihan, then that's the time that they should be approaching their teacher to ask, of course, for intervention. Same thing, of course, if you are a fast learner, you want to know more things. You want to complement your learning, diba? Additional, you want, for example, additional outputs, additional readings, then that's also the time, of course, that you need to make an individual inquiry to the teachers, okay? So not only, of course, does flipped classroom open the communication between the teachers and the students, but also between the students and their classmates. So sila din mismo, minsan bago teachers, tinatanong muna nila yung mga klase nila. Of course, they ask for help, they ask for suggestions, and the like. Second, this term is widely used to describe almost any class structure that provides pre-recorded lectures followed by in-class exercises. Gaya nung sinabi ko kanina, some of us, di ba, natuto tayo sa panonood ng video, natuto tayo mag-bake. Sa panonood ng video, natuto tayo mag-gardening. Sa panonood ng video, medyo natutunan natin onti, for example, yung driving, di ba? So, of course, this is what you call flipped classroom. Okay? So, it puts more responsibility for learning on the shoulder of the students while giving them greater impetus to experiment. So just like what I mentioned earlier, flipped classroom is a 21st century teaching pedagogy. And of course, when we talk about 21st century education, it refers to the implementation of learner-centered strategies. No wonder in a flipped classroom, the responsibility, of course, is given to the students. Like for example, if the students won't be watching the videos ahead of time, then of course, this flipped classroom would be a failure. So dapat talaga maintindihan nila na mahalaga ang role nila at hindi na to spoon feeding gaya ng dati na parang the teacher is the only source of information along with the books. Right now, the videos, the internet itself, of course, these are sources of information. These are teachers, diba, of the students as well. Okay? So we'll talk about flipped classroom. There are 4 pillars. Okay? Allow me na daanan lang natin pasadahan lang po natin ng onte. So flexible environment, learning culture, intentional content, and professional educator. So we talk about flexible environment. It allows, of course, learning to occur in a variety of modes, di ba? So educators often physically rearrange their learning spaces to accommodate a lesson or unit to support either group study, group work, or independent study. When I talk about flipped classroom, it's indeed flexible. Since we're doing it online, the teachers, the educators have the option, diba, to choose what specific application should I be using. For example, in deploying my lesson. Gagamit ba ako, for example, ng Kahoot? 'Di ba? At yung Kahoot ba, individual ko bang papasagutan sa kanila as a pair ba? Gagamit ba ako, for example, ng Smart School? Gagamit ba ako, for example, ng AR, 'di ba? Augmented reality ng Vibal na libro, 'di ba? Of course, since it's flexible, of course, kumbaga, the teachers can choose a variety of methods, 'di ba? On how their students will be able to understand the lesson, on how they would be able to supplement the lesson, and how they would be able, of course, to assess the understanding of the students. L, learning culture. Okay? So flipped learning model deliberately shifts instruction to a learner-centered approach. That's something that you have to understand. Okay? If the students won't be responsible, then flipped classroom would always be a failure. Kailangan matuto ang mga bata maging responsable. Okay? So students are actively involved in knowledge construction as they participate in and evaluate their learning in a manner that is personally meaningful. Again, let me just reiterate, in flipped classrooms, students are responsible for their own learning. Okay? Sabi naman sa researches, sabi sa mga nabasa ko, when the students know the importance of the things that they're doing, they exert more effort. So if the students would understand the very reason of their roles in a flipped classroom setup, then we expect, of course, them to do what they have to do. And of course, pag ginawa nila yun, then we expect, of course, better results, diba? Hopefully, academic success. Intentional content. Flip learning educators determine what they need to teach and what materials students should explore on their own. So ito po, dito tayo maging careful. In choosing the videos, you have to be very careful. Okay? Not all the lessons are the same. Let's say, for example, nouns. Maraming klase ng nouns. Pwede tayong nouns in general. Pwedeng pag-usapan natin yung common nouns, proper nouns, and other lessons connected to nouns. Pag tinignan natin, for example, curriculum natin, English 9, naglagay tayo English 9. And nakita natin video from America. So of course, the curriculum implemented in the United States of America is different from the curriculum being implemented in the Philippines. So if we're not creating our own videos, if we're downloading videos online, then we have to watch the entire video. Diba? We have to ensure that the content, of course, is the same with the content that we're targeting to deliver. Okay? So educators use intentional content to maximize classroom time in order to adopt methods of student-centered active learning strategies depending on their grade level and subject matter. And last, of course, is P, professional educator. Some teachers, some educators claim kapag flip daw, parang nakaka-less professional yung dating. That's the term, less professional daw. Why? Because they think that they're not teaching. But if, in fact, if we're talking about flipped classroom, you're being a professional. Why? Because you're able to address the preferences of your target audience, who are, of course, your students. So during class time, you continually observe your students, provide them with feedback relevant in the moment, and assessing their work, diba? So professional educators are reflective in their practice, connect with each other to improve their instruction, accept constructive criticism, and tolerate controlled chaos in their classroom. So of course, in a flipped classroom, since 21st century to, we're using technology, feedback is made easier. Diba? For example, if we're going to use one assessment tool, diba? Pagkatapos mo nun, scan lang, or kahit nga minsan hindi na ini-scan, at the end of the game, lalabas na yung item analysis. And in the item analysis, of course, we would be able to give the feedback immediately to the students, informing them, naintindihan mo ba? Medyo naguguluhan ka pa ba? Alin ang dapat i-improve? And then the like. Okay? So now let us try to compare traditional and flipped classroom. Right? So according to EduCos, in a traditional classroom, students often try to capture what is being said at the instant the speaker says it. Okay? So in a flipped classroom, student can watch, rewind, and fast-forward lectures in form of videos and other pre-recorded media. Di ba in a traditional classroom, habang nag-lecture si teacher, of course, nag-take down tayo ng notes. Habang nag-take down tayo ng notes, it is inevitable not to miss some words given by the teacher. So pag may nakakalimutan tayo, minsan yun yung mahalagang part. So in a flipped classroom, ang advantage, of course, is that hindi mo kailangan mag-miss ng specific words, specific statements from the teacher whenever you're writing. Because you can rewind the video, kumbaga, up until the moment na maintindihan mo na siya. Next, students do not have the ample time to reflect, of course, what is being said, leading to missignificant points in a traditional classroom. In a flipped classroom, students have ample amount of time to understand the content of the lesson. So in other words, let's say, for example, we're teaching literature. Kunwari, Romeo and Juliet, okay? So habang nagtuturo tayo Romeo and Juliet, nagkikwento, of course, Romeo and Juliet, very romantic ang story. So medyo napaka-imagine ka. Let's say, for example, medyo may naalala ka, kinilig ka. So habang may naalala ka, napaka-imagine ka, kahit hindi mo gustong mawala sa pakikinig kay teacher, medyo, kumbaga, nawala yung focus mo kasi nga, masyado kang entertained, masyado kang into dun sa lesson, masyado kang, kumbaga, you're feeling the moment. So, of course, ano tendency nun? Pagbalik mo, uy, nasaan na? Di ba? Hindi mo na alam kung anong part na binidiscuss sa teacher kasi nga nawala ka sa focus. Not because gusto mong wala sa focus, but because you were feeling it. You were feeling the moment. In a flipped classroom, of course, kahit mag-imagine ka, mag-daydream ka, maisip mo, ay ako kaya si Romeo, ay ako kaya si Juliet, di ba? So, you have ample amount of time to understand the content of the lesson. So, those are the benefits, of course, of using flipped classroom. But what are the things that we need in, of course, implementing flipped classroom? Ano ba yung bumubuo ng flipped classroom toolkit? Ay, first, of course, the videos, di ba? Mahalaga po ang videos. Again, it should be, kumbaga, the start of everything. Di ba? Aside from the videos, we can give, for example, pwede nating supportahan yan ng modules, di ba? And then the like. Of course, if we have videos, we have, kumbaga, things where the students would be getting information, then it is very important, of course, that you put, of course, kumbaga, yung supplementary na magbibigay sa kanila information, which could be in form, of course, of the academic book. And of course, mahalaga sa lahat, of course, na hindi po pwedeng mawala, assessment. And this is what I'm going to, of course, discuss today. Di ba sabi ko po kanina, how would we be able to apply, of course, kumbaga, the use of learn at home kits and flipped classroom? Kanina, before Miss Kia introduced me, they played a video. Dun sa video, pinakita, of course, yung learn at home kit, di ba? So itong learn at home kit po, magagamit po natin yan in a flipped classroom setup. So paalala ko lang po na onte, what is, of course, learn at home kit? So again, learn at home kit is a free online starter kit that contains printable supplements, activity sheets, and test booklets, good for 10 weeks of budgeted learning aligned to the curriculum. Of course, right now that we're having the pandemic, diba, learning should not stop. So it is very important for schools or for the parents. Diba, mag-open na po ang academic year. So mahalaga for the parents to continue providing structured learning to the students, of course, despite the COVID-19 pandemic, despite the quarantine, of course, and using correct online educational materials like this learn at home kits, of course, would be very beneficial for the students. So pag sinabi po nating learn at home kit, ano-ano po ba yung matatagpuan doon? One, of course, we have the test booklet, okay? So in the test booklet, napakalaga po niyan, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, we will be needing assessments, of course, in the process of flipped classroom. So dito, hindi na natin kailangan gumawa ng exam, di ba? Through the use of the Learn at Home Kit assessment tools, yung test booklet na yan, of course, mamaya ipapakita ko po, pwedeng yun na yung gamitin natin. Of course, along with the test booklets, we also have activity sheets that contain graphic organizers or performance tasks. Just like, kumbaga, sir, paano naman namin ma-measure yung performance task? How do you measure it? Hindi naman yan pen and paper exam na chinechekan at ine-exam. Of course, you will be using rubrics. And of course, the rubrics, again, inserted po yan, part pa rin po yan ng Learn at Home Kit. Next, of course, supplements. So supplements containing additional reading and supplementary learning activities, which we could actually use to address the various needs of the students, especially if the students are slow learners or sabihin natin, medyo nahihirapan sila. Okay? Now that, of course, we're dealing with, of course, the distance learning, definitely, sabi ko nga at the start of my presentation, the relationship of the school, the teachers, and the parents would be very important. Diba? That's why in this Learn at Home Kit, meron din pong parents guide. Of course, it's for you to be able to be guided, of course, on how to use these workbooks. And of course, may mga activity books din, and then the like. But we would be discussing this kit later on. Sabi ko kanina, di ba, pinakita ko kanina, ang mahalaga po, we have videos, we have assessment tools, and we have supplementary materials, of course. So let's start first with the videos. So we talk about the videos, of course, meron ng matinding role sa flip learning. So what are the roles of technology in flip learning? One, of course, it's to capture content. Okay? So capture content for students to access at their own convenience to suit their pace of learning. So gaya na sinabi ko kanina, for example, if you are a slow learner, through the use of this pre-recorded lectures, pre-recorded videos, pwede yan kahit pa 100 beses mong panoorin hanggang sa maintindihan mo. If hindi pa rin sapat, you can use the internet, you can use technology, look for supplementary materials, additional materials for you to understand the lesson. Okay? Fitting, of course, for, kumbaga, yung fitting talaga dun sa pangangailangan mo, yung pace of learning mo. Second, of course, technology is used to present learning materials in a variety of formats. Gaya ng sinabi ko here, we're going to use, of course, videos, diba? And of course, providing the lessons to the students and making the students, in giving the students an understanding, of course, with regards to the topics that the teacher would be assessing in synchronously. Third, of course, provide opportunities for discourse and interaction in and out of the class. So it could be done through polling polls, polling tools, discussion tools, content creation materials, and then the like. Napakahalaga po tatandaan natin, my dear teachers, ang 21st century learning, dapat lagi pa rin may interaction. Kaya nga sabi ko, minsan misconception yun eh. Ang tingin kasi ng ibang, ang ginagawa kasi ng iba is parang the teachers would be uploading the PowerPoint presentation and then that's it. That's why some students are hesitant when it comes to 21st century learning. Kasi ang 21st century learning, it does not end when the teachers give the PowerPoint presentation. That's just the first part. The communication, of course, between the teachers and the students must still be there at all times. Okay. Third, of course, fourth, convey timely information, updates, and reminders for students, of course. Yan ang isa pang role ng technology. Of course, right now, habang nag-webinar tayo, definitely, ang daming videos ay na-upload. Okay? And of course, itong mga videos na to, the most recent videos would be containing the most recent information. Di ba? Lalo na, for example, if we're teaching araling panlipunan, kunwari balitaan, di ba? Marami tayo makuha na mas recent pa po. Okay? And then the like. Next, of course, it provides immediate and anonymous feedback for teachers and students. Gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, because of course, through the use of technology, you are able, of course, to provide immediate feedback to the students. And of course, it captures data about students to analyze their progress and identify at-risk students, helping the teachers, the parents, of course, address the diverse needs of the students. So right now, of course, let us try to focus our attention in terms of using videos. How do we prepare videos? Kasi 'di ba sabi ko kanina, you can download videos but of course it is more ideal to prepare your own para talagang personalize yung approach. And I think meron ding emotional touch kapag nakikita ng students na yung teachers nila yung mismong nasa video, 'di ba? Yun yung isa sa mga hinahanap ng estudyante natin eh. The emotional connection. If they're watching, for example, videos of other teachers that they do not know, walang emotional connection yan, 'di ba? Unlike kapag kilala nila at nakakausap nila, yung nakikita nila, of course, sa video. So what are the equipments that we need, of course, in preparing videos? One, of course, you'll be needing video recorder or camera. So, pwede naman yan sa laptop, for example, di ba? Sa yung webcam nyo, cellphone nyo. If you have, for example, camera, then better. Of course, you'll be needing video editors like Filmora, iMovie, and then the like. Definitely, of course, you'll be needing laptop and computer. Kasi nga po, sabi ko nga po, I talk about video, technology yun. So talagang kailangan, it is inevitable ay not to use laptops and computers. Microphones, para mas malinaw. Pero hindi naman po natin kailangan bumili talaga ng sariling microphone kasi kadalasan, yung mga laptops naman natin, computers natin, may built-in microphones na po yan more often than not. Lights, let's say for example, para mas maliwanag, if gusto natin, kunwari may ring light para talagang very clear ang mukha natin sa video sa mga napanonoorin ng mga estudyante natin. And of course, other teaching materials or other teaching paraphernalia. Yung mga props natin, for example, gusto ba natin nagtuturo tayo parang sa whiteboard? Gusto ba natin parang nasa Manila paper o writing materials and then the like. So these are the things that you will be needing, of course, if you plan to create your own video. But of course, when you talk about creating your own video, tatlo po kasi ang klase niyan. According to Dr. Esperanza, sabi niya, ang paggawa daw ng video could be done minimal tech. Minimal tech, minimal use of technology. So para ka lang nagdi-discuss sa classroom. May camera lang na nagbi-video sa'yo habang nagsusulat ka sa whiteboard. Dinidiscuss mo, for example, how to compute. Kunwari, di ba, elementary, for example, when to use and and, di ba? Nagsusulat ka lang sa whiteboard and the like. For example, math, addition, simple subtraction, minimal tech. Okay? So, binivideohan ka lang po, of course, while you're discussing using the whiteboard or using Blackboard and then the like. Second, of course, is document camera. Document camera, meron talaga tayong document camera. Medyo pricey lang po yun. Yung talagang naka-zoom siya, na nakatingin po na nakafocus po talaga siya doon sa pen and paper. However, pwede rin naman tayong gumawa ng sarili natin, own made, di ba? So I saw, kumbaga yung mga own made na document camera, ginagawa nila sa box ng sapatos, pinapatong nila, for example, yung cellphone nila para tutok pa din doon sa sinusulat nila. That's also possible. Okay? So, gaya nga na sinabi ko kanina, we need to be creative, we need to be innovative, di ba? If we cannot buy because these things are very expensive, then of course, we can find ways on how we would be able to provide one na magagamit, of course, natin dito sa flip learning. And of course, full tech, ito naman yung tinatawag natin na use of computers and various educational applications in editing the video. Dito ka na talaga yung talagang i-edit mo na, for example, lagyan mo na effects, and then the like. So, pwede yan Filmora video editor, iMovie, editing applications, and then the like. So, kahit ano po dito, pwede yan for flip classroom. Kasi minsan mahirap talaga na mag-full tech, lalo na if hindi pa tayo sobrang techy. And we understand that, of course, not everyone definitely ay prepared sa ganitong klaseng setup. But this is something, of course, that kumbaga could be learned over time. Talagang kailangan lang natin paghirapan. Di ba po? So, steps in creating instructional videos. So, first one, you need to choose the lesson and plan how to execute it. Second, prepare the instructional materials, set up the stage, record and edit, and after that, of course, that's the time that you upload the file. Alam niyo po, my dear teachers, kaya ako sobrang happy pag nakakakita ko ng bagong project sa Vibal kasi ang mga projects ng Vibal, to be honest, talagang meant to help the teachers. One of which, of course, yung kanilang Teacher Vibal program, yung project na to, di ba? Teacher Vibal, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, videos. Why? Because this program features learning specialists who are also licensed professionals teaching various learning areas across different grade levels. So here in this project, pag hinanap nyo po yan, for example, sa YouTube account ng Bibal, you can get videos that you can use, okay, in helping your students understand specific lessons. So allow me to share with you some of the videos po. Okay, here. So here, of course, this video, and get to know them one by one. Hear the short and long sounds and use them in sentences. Join Teacher G in this Teacher Vibal episode for grades 1 and 2. So here, long and short sounds ang tinuturo. So kung ito ang topic natin sa lesson, pwedeng ito na yung panood natin sa bata kung fitting naman talaga, of course, yung information being provided in the video dun sa target competencies natin. Another one. So it's a Numberful Wednesday. Join Teacher Teen in today's lesson as she teaches young learners in grades 1 and 2 how to count from 1 to 100. So if we have the same goal, then we can use this video. Hindi lang po yun. Meron din po, for example, for Araling Panlipunan, mga mag-aaral sa ikapito at kawalong baitang. So this is for high school already. So ngayong hapon, tunghayan ang pagtalakay sa kahalagahan ng mga ubos-buong kabayasnan sa ating sibilisasyon. So join Teacher Alexis dito sa Teacher Vibal. And of course, meron ding Filipino. Ayan si Teacher Kia. So alam mo ba kung ano ang Filipino? Sa Filipino, ang cake ang cartoons. Ngayong umaga ay may inihandang bagong aralin para sa mga baitang 3 at 4 dito sa isa na namang hitik panitik sa Lunes. Sama-sama nating tayong matuto kung paano isalin ang mga salitang hiram sa wikang Filipino kasama si Teacher Kia. So gaya ng sinabi ko po kanina, across grade levels po yun. So from grades 1, of course, to grades 10, different subjects po. If we're looking for videos, isa sa pwede nating hanapan ng videos is itong Teacher Bival program. Alright? So now that we're done with the video, of course, pagtapos manood ng bata ng mga video, it is very important to test if they are able, of course, to understand the lesson. So assessment, okay? Assessment can be done and approach, of course, in 2 ways, individual or group-based activities. Students will have varied levels of understanding and comprehension after watching the video. So it is very important, of course, to assess their understanding and their own learning. And how can we assess them? Of course, through the use of various 21st century educational materials, like, for example, Zipgrade, Kahoot, di ba? Padlet, and many more. But since, of course, today, sabi ko nga kanina, ang focus natin learn at home kits, I would like to focus on how we would be able to maximize the use of these test booklets, of course, in assessing the skills of the students, their understanding after watching the video. So this test booklet is a compilation of exercises and exams covering the 5 major subjects for you to work on within a span of 10 weeks while you are at home and schools are closed. So in other words po, ito pong test booklet ay hindi lang po about isang lesson. Okay? Good po siya for 1 quarter in 5 major subjects. So specifically, pag sinabi po nating test booklet and activity sheets, ito pong test booklets, of course, the students will be encountering questions like multiple choice, identification, enumeration, and then the like. So in other words, malaking tulong sa atin to kasi hindi na natin kailangan na gumawa ng assessment tools, of course, after the students watch the video. If we want, for example, to have naman performance tasks, mini tasks, then we can rely to activity sheets that, of course, contain not only performance tasks but also graphic organizers and then the like. So allow me to share with you some of the test booklets na meron ang Learn at Home kits. Here. So read and answer each question carefully and circle the letter of the correct answer. Number 1, what appropriate expression will you use if you accidentally broke the vase of your mother? So A, B, C, D, diba? So these are questions, of course, for English primary level, diba? First quarter. So, may mga ganyang questions na po, ready-made questions na po ang Vibal, Learn at Home kits na gagamitin nyo na lang po after the students watch the video. So, let's say for example, nanood na yung mga estudyante ng video. After nila manood ng video, of course, for you to understand, for you to check kung naintindihan nila yung content ng video, assessment, pwedeng ito na po, yung assessment tool sa Learn at Home kits ang gamitin natin. So, this one, for another subject, basahin at unawain ang sumusunod na mga tanong. Piliin ang letra ng tamang sagot. Ilan ang kabuuang bilang ng letra sa makabagong alpabetong Pilipino? So of course, this one is definitely for Filipino teachers, di ba? Tayo rin po parents, magagamitin po natin ito. For example, sabihin natin, right now, di pa naman nagsisimula ang academic year for most schools. So pwede na, through the use of Learn at Home kits, pwedeng ma-advance na natin, di ba? Matulungan natin yung mga teachers kasi nga sabi nga natin, limited ang time ng teachers unlike the regular setup, the face-to-face setup. So kung tutulungan natin sila, then of course, the students would be able to, kumbaga, gain bigger chances, of course, of academic success. This one, graphic organizer naman for Araling Panlipunan. Ilarawan ang iyong sarili sa pamagitan ng paglista ng iyong mga katangian. Isulat sa patlang ang kahinihinging ilalarawan sa bawat kahon. So ilarawan mo yung mata mo, buhok, and then the like. So this is for Araling Panlipunan, again for primary level. First quarter din po yan. So, sir, itong bang topics na to, inline ba yan sa curriculum? Ayan ang isang bagay na sasagutin ko po mamaya, ha? So next, this one, determine if the given statement is true or false. So if 9,578 is rounded off to 10,000, it is rounded to the nearest thousand. So true or false, math naman po ito. So meron din pong math. And definitely, syempre, kung merong math, may Filipino, may Araling Panlipunan, may English, meron din pong, of course, science. So here, right? P, if the statement is correct, and F, if the statement is not correct. So number 1, we observe things with our 5 senses. Number 2, inferring is when you observe how things are alike or different. So again, ito pong mga assessment tools na to, lahat po yan matatagpuan natin sa Learn at Home kits. Kanina po I was mentioning, inline po ba to sa curriculum? Okay? In the Learn at Home kits, you would also be seeing this specific summary. Ito pong summary contains 1, the duration of the lesson. Kailan siya? Week 1 to week 5? Ano yung learning competency? Ano yung supplement? May activity books ba doon? May pang-test booklet ba doon? In other words, nakalagay po lahat dito kung ano-ano po ang pwedeng masagutan ng bata, magamit ng bata, of course, to understand their lessons. Diba? And of course, yung curriculum po na ginamit in this Learn at Home kit is the same curriculum, of course, with the K-12 curriculum. Diba? So in other words, inline po yan sa DepEd curriculum. Gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, what if, for example, performance task? Paano naman namin i-assess yun? Hindi naman kami nag-specialize sa paggawa ng rubric. Paano yun? Meron na rin pong available rubrics dito sa Learn at Home kits. For example, rubrics on song presentation. Andyan ako paano. So, i-scorean nyo na lang. di ba? Rubrics on artwork and drawing, creativity, completeness, skill, consistency, work habits, and then the like. So again, ang gagawin na lang po nating parents, of course, is to help the students monitor na develop pa yung skill, help the teachers, of course, follow up yung sa lessons sa teacher, or maganda nga i-advance natin, di ba? Kaya lang, gaya rin ng sinabi ko kanina, definitely, not all students would be getting good scores in this assessment. Pwedeng yung iba, nanood naman ng video, di ba? Pero after nila manood ng video, talagang medyo mababa pa rin yung understanding nila. Diba? So this is the time, of course, that we teachers would be finding ways, diba, to put an end to this problem. Yung solution, yung pencil na yan, diba? So what will the teacher do if the students will be getting low scores in the assessment? This is where we teachers and parents can do intervention. So when you say intervention, it is the act of providing assistance to the students who are having difficulty. Parang yan po yan na nasa picture. Kapag hindi tayo nag-intervention, tuloy-tuloy yan babaksak. Tuloy-tuloy nating hindi matutulungan yung bata. That is why assessment is very important, because it is a way for the educators and the formators to check, pwede ba tayo mag-proceed pa sa next part? Baka mamaya nakatumba na pala lahat, hindi natin namamalayan. Remember, my dear teachers, gaya lang sinabi ni George Evans, every student can learn. just not on the same day or the same way. Why? Because learners are diverse. There are slow learners, there are average learners, and there are fast learners. And of course, ang Vibal, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, talagang ang ginagawa po kasi nila is they're developing materials that kumbaga are not only meant for teachers. Actually, this can be used for homeschooling also. Pero for regular schooling, pwede rin natin gamitin ito. Why? Let's say, for example, slow learner yung bata. May slow learner yung bata. So, kailangan ng bata, for example, additional material. Meron po bang material na kasama sa Learn at Home Kit? Meron din po. Ito naman yung tinatawag na supplement. Okay, so it's still part of the Learn at Home Kit. So, to enhance learning of the students, Vival created a supplement material which is also included in the Learn at Home Kit. So, the word itself, supplement, enhance the learning of the students. Diba, imagine, one, they started the flip learning process by watching video. Pinanood naman ng bata, inintindi, pero sabihin natin medyo mahina talaga yung bata. So, pumasok sa klase, that's the time the teacher assess their lesson, medyo mababa yung bata. So this is how we're going to, of course, help the children address their various needs, their diverse needs. So one of the many ways, of course, in addressing these needs, of course, is the use of this supplement book, which is also part of the Learn at Home Kits. Gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, of course, ito pong supplement material, available din po siya in the 5 major subjects. So of course, for English, primary, for example, ang tinuturo natin, punctuation. So dito, of course, in this supplement, hindi lang additional exercises. May additional lectures, may additional graphic organizers, of course, fitting yan and suiting yan para sa learners' preferences na mas maintindihan nila yung lesson. Okay, so this time for punctuation. So yan, nakalagay week 2. So that's meant for the second week. What about for Filipino? I'll show you a sample material here. Bakit ka nagtatanong? So, paano at kailan ginagamit ang salitang ano, sino, saan, kailan, bakit, paano. So, this is for week 4 naman po. So, again, let's say for example, baksak siya na nag-exam dito eh. So, this is the time, of course, that you give this material. Habang binabasa ng mga bata ito, of course, we hope that after this, isa pang assessment, marami namang assessment na pwedeng gamitin dito. Actually, may assessment dito sa supplement. That's the time na pag mataas na sila or pumasa na sila, pwede na tayo proceed sa next lesson. But if not, then we should still continue to exert effort, magdagdag pa tayo ng intervention para masigurado natin that no student, of course, is left behind. So, meron din ba yan for social studies? Diba sa lower elementary kasi social studies ang tawag, diba? So, or ano, minsan nga Civica, Hekasi, diba? So here, for example, sabihin natin ang mga bata para nakikitaan natin, diba? Ang mga issue sa bata, hindi marunong mag-Filipino minsan, so lack of patriotism. So gusto natin, matuto sila magmahal ng sarili nating musika. So we can, of course, this supplement material contains stories, articles that would help, of course, kumbaga, instill in them the value of patriotism. So yung mga tinatarget din natin, of course, for Araling Panlipunan. Eh sir, syempre, ang isa sa mga pinakamahirap ituro, di ba? Mathematics, meron din po bang supplementary materials? Definitely. And for example, adding 3-digit numbers. So here, in this supplement materials, pag nakita po natin yan, naka step-by-step process po yan, how we're going to do it. Ayan, nakalagay grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, tapos place value, and then the like. So, mas malinaw, easier to, kumbaga easy, mas malinaw talagang, mas madaling intindihin para sa mga batang mas nahihirapan or kailangan pa ng additional supplementary materials for them to fully understand their lessons. Meron din po, of course, for science, di ba? For science here, the living water, ayan, evaporation, precipitation, evaporation, condensation, and then the like. So, kung napansin niyo po, ito pong supplement, colorful, di ba? Colored yung mga pictures. Why? Of course, it is meant to capture the students' attention. Di ba? Para at least, mas masigurado na talaga natin na ay talagang mas maintindihan ng bata. Kasi not all naman the learners ay kayang intindihin lang yan kung plain and written black and white. Kadalasan, minsan visual learners din talaga. Right? So that's how their brains work. Eh. So kailangan po talaga ng pictures, kailangan ng colors, and then the like. So yun po, that's for science. So my dear teachers, my dear formators, my dear educators, that's how flipped classroom goes. Okay. So to summarize, let me share with you the entire process. First, of course, they're going to watch the video. Okay. After watching the video, they're going to make meaning, diba, from it. So it could be by answering the assessments. Habang sinasagutan nila yun, pwede silang mag-search sa internet. Habang nag-search sila, mas lumalali yung pag-intindi nila. They can consult their classmates. They could consult their friends. And then pagdating sa synchronous, of course, this is the time that they demonstrate what they learn. They apply what they learn through projects, through performance tasks, and then the like. Kaya lang, di ba, pag tinignan natin, mukhang madali yung flip classroom, right? Pero pag sinabi po natin flip classroom, gaya ng kahit anong strategy, meron din naman yung downside. Ano po yung mga downside niyan? One is an easy model to get wrong. Definitely. Kapag, for example, ang flip classroom, let's say, mali yung video na na-download ni teacher. Nag-download lang, hindi napanood ni teacher. Mataas, parang for grade 6, if for grade 2 lang. Mali na yon. May hirapan yung mga bata. So it would make the students frustrated. So it would destroy the entire learning process. That's why it requires careful preparation. And of course, especially in creating your own video, it requires a lot of effort and time on the part of the teacher. So it means additional work and may require new skills for the teacher. Okay? And of course, it is also prone to complaints, especially when students know that the video lectures assigned to them can be viewed by anyone. Baka mamaya sabihin ni student, alam mo mami, nagbayad ka ng 45,000. Tapos ginagawa lang ni teacher, nagkasend lang siya ng videos. Tapos yung libro namin, sinasagutan lang namin. Yun na yun. So of course, the teachers, the school, diba, in partnership with the parents, must also inform the parents that this is how it works in the 21st century. Diba? It does not mean that we're going to do flip classroom always naman. But there would be specific lessons na talagang babagay talaga for this strategy. And of course, costly siya. Diba? Costly po talaga siya. Okay? So however, gaya ng sinabi ko, itong mga downside po na to, ito yung mga nagli-lead, diba? Main reasons why flip classroom actually fail. Allow me, of course, to give a rundown, additional reasons bakit ba hindi nag-work ang flip classroom. One, teachers fail to direct students' attention effectively. One reason why flip classroom fail is because educators neglect to adequately target students' attention to the things they need to perform well on those high-stakes assessments before they take them. So, minsan, hindi naman talaga nanonood yung mga bata ng video, di ba? Students do not perform what they're being asked to do. So, hindi nila pinanood, pero nag-assessment sila. So, technically, of course, flipped classroom wouldn't be able to serve its purpose. Okay? That's why, dapat ang teachers, creative tayo, innovative tayo in convincing our students to be responsible for their own learning. Here, to watch the videos ahead of time. Okay? Students abuse the use of technology. Kanina sabi ko, in doing the assessment, especially if it's formative, the students can search the internet and then the like. Kaya lang minsan mga bata, since digital natives, inaabuso, literal na copy-paste na lahat. Wala nang learning. So, of course, again, babaksak tayo, students must be responsible for their own learning. Di ba po? At kung alam nila yung halaga niyan, definitely they would not be doing things that would destroy, of course, the chances of them being successful academically. Fourth, students are not able to apply knowledge in novel situations. Okay? Here, during assessments, educators typically ask students to demonstrate their ability to apply what they have understood on the video, what they know on the questions they have never seen. So in other words, i-apply po nila kung ano yung natutunan nila sa video sa mga situations na bago sa kanila. And sometimes, dito tayo nahihirapan because transferring learning is a very difficult thing to do, especially when the students are being asked to apply what they have learned to an unfamiliar situation, di ba? So, kaya ito rin, isa rin sa nagiging problema ng flip classroom. Kaya nga po ako, pag nag-flip classroom ako, I try to make it to a point na dapat lagi may intervention para at least supportado ko yung mga medyo nahuhuli, medyo nahihirapan. And of course, yung mga talagang nadalian, I can give, of course, additional materials para at least ma-supplement din naman yung kanilang kakayahan. And lastly, educators are not being able to address diverse needs of the students. So yun yung sinasabi ko kanina, kapag wala tayong intervention, natapos tayo sa assessment, may teachers kasi na ganyan video. After watching the video, assessment. After nun, next lesson. Nope. Hindi po ganun ang flip classroom. We need to check the results. Okay? We need to check the results. So now, how would we be able to avoid these reasons? Alam niyo po ako, to be honest, right now that we're following this full online setup, diba? Especially in the first semester, all the schools in the Philippines would be following this definitely from preschool to college, diba po? Napakahalaga po talaga ng connection between the parents, the school, the teachers, the students, diba? The parents' engagement. Here, alam niyo po, I'd like to believe that the potential of this flipped learning classroom toolkit can be maximized with the help of the parents in monitoring the progress of the students. That's one. Second, in reinforcing content, diba? Following the content, increasing the student responsibility, which includes watching short video lectures, inquiring about lecture content if they have questions, interacting with their peers to gain a deeper understanding, doing hands-on activities, answering worksheets, learning activity sheets, and then the like. So in other words po, ako, I'd like to believe that parents' engagement would help the students apply the knowledge and the skills that they're trying to develop throughout the learning process. Always remember, my dear teachers, okay? One, children need the help of their parents when they cannot study completely independently. They need their parents to monitor, assess, and encourage them from time to time. My dear parents, kaya na sinabi ko kanina, we're implementing full online. So no physical classes. So the one of the biggest challenges here would be monitoring. And since medyo nahihirapan po tayo sa monitoring, with the help of the parents, of course, this can be easier, kumbaga, na i-achieve. So kailangan po talaga natin yon. Second, of course, with the flip model, parents can be more involved and helpful than with the traditional teaching model, which makes it more possible to help children's all-round development. Parents are always with their kids. Yung iba po pumapasok sa trabaho, pero kadamihan naman po right now work at home, 'di ba? So we need to spend time with them. We need to be more involved, 'di ba? Kasi nga po, sabi ko nga po kanina, kayo lang po yung makakapagbigay ng emotional connection, ng emotional touch talaga sa mga lesson, intervention, additional intervention, monitoring, reinforcement, and then the like. According to researches, sabi ko kasi kailangan i-back up natin to ng research para talagang convince tayo talaga na this is something na makakatulong. Okay? So, according to researches, okay, by Su and Wu in 2013, students complain about homework tasks being frequently boring, too easy, or some of them, sabi naman, too hard, irrelevant to their lives. Mahirap po ito i-address kapag online. Di ba? However, parents' behavior, parents' expectations, and parental involvement through time spent on doing these homeworks have positive effects on students' academic achievement. So in other words, the negative, kumbaga, things, impressions of students in learning can be addressed as well by, of course, parent involvement, parent engagement. Kaya po napakahalaga na if we want, of course, kumbaga, to make this work for our student, to make this type of setup work for our kids, for the children, for the students, for the young ones, then we must work hand in hand. The parents, the school, the teachers, and the students. Okay? So parents can make the students feel better by helping them, of course, in accomplishing their tasks, including their homeworks. According to researches, sabi naman dito ni Bond in 2019, sabi niya, parent involvement and engagement with children's learning has shown strong influence to student achievement, engagement, motivation, and school completion. Gaya po ng sinabi ko kanina, in the flipped classroom setup, students take a lot of responsibilities. If they would not be doing their role, then this would not work. And of course, through parents' engagement, through parents' involvement, Then sabi nga sa research, mas ganado, 'di ba? Mas pursige yung mga bata. Of course, to complete their tasks, to gain at school achievements, and then the like. Okay? So flip approach is beneficial to reinforce content and increase student responsibility. Homeschool partnership plays a vital role in academic success, especially right now, of course, in our setup, full online. With this, parents must help the teachers not only in the delivery of the content, but also in inculcating among them positive morals, virtues, values, allowing them, of course, to have a strong character. Tatandaan natin, my dear teachers, my dear parents, diba? I'd like to believe that parents also are formators. Parents also are educators. Magkakasama tayo, hindi lang sa flip ng lesson, 'di ba? Kasi syempre hindi namin makakasama ang mga estudyante physically. Kayo ang makakasama niyan. So of course, you would be educating your own child. And as educators, dapat natin tandaan, of course, educators are here not only to teach, but also to teach. And since we're not only after, of course, the academic skills of the students, then we must therefore remember at all times that we are role models both inside and outside the classroom. So whatever we do at home, mahalaga po yan because the students will think, the children will think na ito yung tama. Okay? Remember, as teachers, as educators, as formators, all of us are agents of change for social transformation. And definitely, lahat ng gusto natin mangyari, academic success, that's one. Second, of course, is to, as for the children, to have strong character inculcated with positive morals and virtues. This can be achieved, of course, because we are a team. And as a team, together, everyone achieves more. Diba? With this, my dear parents, gusto ko po sanang i-dedicate ang isang slide para sa inyo. Diba? My dear parents, your experience as a student is undoubtedly different from your child's educational experience. So it is very important to understand and acknowledge the many changes in the field of education, which includes the learner's nature, attitude, and preferences. So in other words, pag nakita nyo na ibang atake ni teacher, you also try to do your best to research, to understand bakit ganito nga ba ang approach ni teacher. Bakit hindi kagaya nung dati? It's primarily because, of course, of the many changes in the field of education. Right now, gaya po ng sinasabi ko, the partnership between the parents and the teachers, of course, not only in this, in making this flip learning process work, but in the entire, itong system talaga mag-work, talagang napakahalaga po. Unfortunately, education cannot wait. Diba? We cannot wait for the vaccine. We cannot wait for this pandemic to end before we resume education. That is why, of course, isa lang po ang solusyon dyan. If we cannot wait for education, of course, then we have to continue it. And if we plan to continue it, then how are we going to make it work? It takes three. One, the parents. Two, the students. And three, the teachers. So allow me, of course, to end this specific webinar with a quote from Jane Hall, sabi niya, at the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement of their parents. So, ito po yung bago. Diba? Dito sa flip learning process, nakita natin kung ano yung epekto ng parents. Pero hindi lang po sa flip eh. In the entire teaching and learning process, not only in the 21st century, but here, of course, this is something new to us. This is something new to everyone. Diba? We really need to have a good connection. Diba po? The parents and the school. Because if these things would be working hand in hand, diba, collaboratively, creatively, innovatively, then I'm definitely sure that there's only one way for the students, diba? It's the road, of course, to academic success. So that is the end of our webinar today. I hope you were able to understand new concepts, and of course, sana natulungan ko din kayo kung paano natin makikita yung application ng Learn at Home Kits, or possible ways, of course, on applying, using this Learn at Home Kits, and of course, implementing the flip learning process. Ayun po. So thank you and God bless. So I think, Ms. Kia, siguro may mga questions tayo, no? Ayan. Ayan po.
Yes, Sir Joram. Thank you so much for that very insightful session that you had with us. So now it's time to answer the questions from our viewers. So our first question, sir, is from Miss Rosemary San Juan. Sir, are these possible for schools in the far-flung areas?
Ayan. So ito kasi, syempre, ayun naman talaga ang tanong natin, di ba? Paano, sa malalayong lugar, lalo sa walang internet, paano po ito? If I'm not mistaken, ang Vival po, meron naman ang sariling kasing delivery service ang Vival. So, if kaya namang abutin ng Vival yan, definitely, of course, there would be additional charges. Pero, kumbaga, kaya natin gawa ng paraan yan. So, yes, it would be available. Also, I think it can also be delivered. It can also be ordered online. If I'm not mistaken, Miss Kia, tama po ba ako? Parang if it can be delivered, it can be ordered online, and of course, delivery afterwards. Pero pwede rin yan for pick up if I'm not mistaken.
Okay po, thank you so much, Sir Joram. Then for our second question for tonight, this is from Miss Aya Nolial. Hello po, can the flipped classroom be done at home for homeschooled students?
Ako po, alam nyo, ito yung isang bagay na talagang tinignan ko. Sabi ko, paano kaya gagawin yung flipped classroom? Because of course, it would be the parents who would be teaching the students. Then I realized, sabi ko, walang imposible. Why? Gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, for example, let us try to lock ourselves dito sa Bibal setup. So for example, di ba pag nag-homeschool naman tayo, meron din tayong specific regular schedule. Kunyari, 7 to 8 ang klase natin English. Kunyari every Tuesday, 7 to 8 English. So before nung araw na yon, we can let the students, ito ang mga tasks na kailangan mo accomplish before the next class. Parang assignment. So the students on their own can explore these things with, of course, an assessment. And then pag nagklase, that's the time, of course, that you do a performance task or additional assessment, and then you provide intervention. So the answer, of course, is yes. Ako, sabi ko nga kanina, it lies with kumbaga, how creative and how innovative the teachers and the parents would be. Diba? If the teachers would be very creative, innovative, then definitely walang imposible. Kahit anong strategy pa yan, pwede naman natin i-modify yan para mas fitting yan para sa mga sa learning needs ng specific students. So the answer, of course, is it's a big yes, Ms. Kia.
Thank you very much, sir. Then for our last question for tonight, the question po is from Miss Maricar Pateros. What if po illiterate parents, how can they assist their child?
If illiterate ang parents, then of course, dito talaga natin kailangan ng maghanap ng tutor. Alam niyo po, if you're, for example, after homeschooling, ang Bibal, meron tinatawag na Happy Homeschool Project. In this Happy Homeschool Project, of course, there would be learning specialists who would be teaching your kids to acquire specific knowledge, develop the skills needed, of course, in line with, and of course, as stated in the curriculum. So ano po yung magiging role natin? Let's say, for example, medyo illiterate pa nga po tayo. Of course, in helping the students learn the value of responsibility. Yung certain reminder, yung motivation na bibigay natin sa kanila. These things play significant roles in, of course, for the students to gain academic success. Mahalaga po yan sa mga bata. Yung binibigay nating affection, yung binibigay nating suporta sa kanila, that those things matter a lot. So ako, really, to be honest, being illiterate is not a reason not to be involved and not to get involved sa education ng mga bata. Sabi ko nga kanina, 'di ba, maraming paraan para tulungan yung mga bata. So of course, if we want the best for our students, then we must also exert our best effort to help them as well. Ayun po, Ms. Kia.
Okay, Sir Joram, thank you so much po. For now, that's all the questions that we have from our viewers. Before we finally end our session, sir, do you have any final reminders for our viewers?
Ayan, final reminders for our viewers. I just like to reiterate yung puntong sinabi ko kanina. My dear teachers, my dear educators, my dear formators, ayan, kung anong tawag natin sa isa't isa, di ba? Ako, I'd like to believe that right now, we're facing the pandemic. Of course, definitely, a lot of challenges would come our way. But if we would be doing our best effort, di ba, to be creative and to be innovative, just like, of course, implementing flipped classroom and other strategies, then definitely, learning would be feasible. Hindi po imposible matuto sa panahon ng pandemya. So we just need, of course, to exert our best effort. Partnership with the parents would be very helpful. With those things, of course, definitely, we expect nothing but the best as well. Yun lang, Ms. Kia. Sana may natutunan po kayo tonight.
There we have it. Thank you so much, Sir Joram, on behalf of Vibal Group Incorporated. Thank you for spending your holiday night with us to share your knowledge and your expertise about the Learn at Home kit. Thank you so much, sir. And to all our Kavibal viewers, thank you so much for your continuous patronage to our daily learning sessions. We hope to see you tomorrow for our last session for this week. And of course, continue to support us to our succeeding webinars for next week and then the next week and the next week after that. Thank you so much, Kavibal. And thank you so much, Sir Joram, for tonight. Once again, good evening and thank you, everyone. Happy weekend.